Hey everyone, good evening. It is 6:30, and if you're like me, you've got a crazy night ahead of you. So I just want to go ahead and get started and welcome everyone. So my name is Rachel Blackwell, and I'm the Digital Learning Facilitator for Pulaski County Special School District. And I'm going to try to pay attention to this screen. So where my camera is, but I have things on a couple of other screens just so I can go on. And we have Jessica Duff here. She is also she's the executive director of communications, and so she is here as a moderator. So if you have any questions while we're going through this tonight, feel free just to put those in the chat. But I have about 4 or 5 questions that have been the most asked questions, and so I have those on the slideshow, and I'll go through each one of those, and hopefully that will help answer some questions. So let me go ahead. So just to let everyone know, this session is being recorded. And I will share it out. So if things are happening and you miss something and you want to go back and listen, we'll keep it as short and sweet as possible. And then we will also, we'll share it out, but then we'll also, I guess just share it out. I don't know what else. So again, my name is Rachel Blackwell, and Chandra West may also join us. She is the counselor for DVA. And of course, like I introduced a minute ago, Jessica Duff is also here. Our email addresses are on the slide, so when we share this out, we'll also include the slide deck. And we'll also have it translated into Spanish as well for those families who might need that. So first of all, I just wanted to mention that Driven Virtual Academy has been in the goal for Pulaski County Special School District for several years now. In 2014-15, I was actually in a middle school as a facilitator, and we piloted a one-to-one program that year. And we decided to go district-wide with it for multiple reasons. But because of that, we just thought about, okay, how can we expand learning? Now that every student has a device, what can we do to help expand learning and to change the way we do things? So you can kind of see our timeline here over the last several years. We have a lot of support that we gave to the teachers about how to use the devices as just something else, another way to learn and to provide students with resources for education. And we also have opened up in 3 of our high schools what's called Driven School of Opportunity. So Driven is kind of our 2-part innovation model that we use. So we have Driven Schools of Opportunity at Maumelle, Mills, and Robinson High School. And those students are in their 4 core classes doing their work online with certified teachers, supporting them and teaching lessons. And then, so they have a little bit more flexibility within those 4 core, but then they also have their school within a school. So I want to explain that because you'll hear that word driven sometimes more than one place. So it's kind of our innovation model. So now that we have the schools of opportunity, now we're looking at how can we provide something that other students might need, which is our Driven Virtual Academy. It's our full-time 100% virtual academy. And so we got a district conversion charter this last year in October, approved by the Department of Education. And we're looking forward to opening that here in the fall. So just a couple of things here. I just want to make sure everybody can see the mission and of the district and then of the virtual academy. So with our district, we are always wanting equity and excellence for all students. And we think having the Driven Academy will also support that in the personalized learning, looking for individual interests and opportunities for growth for our students. And this is just another way. I think the pandemic, even though it was not, no one knew that was coming, it's given parents an opportunity to know, okay, virtual learning is really good for my student. They have learned really well that way. They've made good grades. And so now this is something they're like, okay, this is something that's gonna be best for my student, and you're looking at a long-term option of that. So that's what the Virtual Academy is here for. And then there are just some students who it just fits their needs because they might travel a lot with family, just for several different reasons. So we love that we have this to fit the mission that we have excellence for all of our students in our district. So I am Chandra West, the counselor, and I have been working to call everyone who has filled out the application for Driven Virtual Academy. Some of you filled it out in November or December or January, and then some have filled it out more recently. And so we've been really doing our best to make sure and try to make contact with everyone. So I just want to make sure that you knew that. So because we're just making sure we have the right teacher allocations and have everything ready for next year. But I wanted to show this chart right here that's up right now because it's showing you what Pulaski County Special School District is going to offer next semester. So hopefully we'll have back to our traditional learning as much as possible with vaccines and things coming available, knowing better about COVID. So our face-to-face is still our number one chosen option because that works for a lot of students. So that's going to be available. Right now we're offering the virtual learning in the school like that's happening this year. It's a 5-day virtual. They don't have an option this next year for blended. And then another option they'll have, of course, is Driven Virtual Academy. That is going to be their 26th school in our district. And then when you get this link, or when you get this slideshow, there's a link here that will also take you to kind of a more descriptive model about like how the learning is going to look different, all the different opportunities. So that is there for you to look at as well. I'm checking my notes to make sure I hit everything. So this is one of the very first questions that I've had several people ask me. So I want to make sure we hit this. This is the big one. What is a day in a life going to look like for a student who's part of the virtual academy? So first of all, I want to make sure that you know that we are using Florida Virtual Curriculum as our curriculum provider. We looked at several different models. We have been to several different school districts that have a virtual academy, and this is by far one that really fits that model for our students that are going to be learning at home. So again, when you have this slideshow, there's a link right there, or you can just Google Florida Virtual Global Curriculum. And I put on their limited courses because they have a lot of courses available. And so especially in the first couple of years, we're going to have specific ones that we can offer within our district. And then, so we'll have those lists, and that's something when we get ready to work on your schedule, we'll contact you and we'll work on that personalized schedule with you. But just some things to know that even though it is a curriculum, it's a Arkansas approved digital provider. So if people see Florida and they're like, well, how's that aligned to Arkansas? It's one of the digital providers in that's approved by our state. And we're going to take that curriculum and make sure it's aligned with our district map, because we want to make sure that students, if they do any kind of transition, that they make sure they have heard and learned all the standards for that 9 weeks or that semester, so that if they have a transition one way or the other, they're set and they haven't have any learning gaps there. We're using those pacing guides for each course. So whenever your student has a course, we'll be like, here is your semester worth of work, and we'll have it paced out so that you'll know, okay, this needs to be done by the end of August, this needs to be done here. And so that way you can see a plan in front of you of how to get that curriculum all done within that semester. Because that's something, the beauty of this program is that you're gonna have the semester laid out. And so some students who do really well with some of it, they may be like, I'm just gonna work on this and get it done and finish courses early. And that's definitely possible with that. Schoology is still going to be our learning management system. So this Florida curriculum will still fit inside of Schoology for those courses to be laid there. And we'll be teaching those 4 core classes. Those are the teachers we'll be hiring those 4 core classes, your math, science, English, and social studies. Elective courses, of course, will still have their electives, but those teachers will be adjunct teachers. So they'll be hired for after school hours. So you'll still have the ability to talk with them, but those courses will be at a different pace. Those won't be something that you have to jump on and do each day. So that came to a question too, as we get here, about attendance. So attendance is taken based on your completion. And so we're not looking for you being in class every single day at specific times, but we know how valuable that interaction is with the teacher and making sure you hear those lessons. And so we will definitely be working on that and getting that schedule as well. So that's something in my notes to make sure I remind you of. So once we have all of our allocations and our students who have applied, then that's when we can really set and say, okay, this is what teachers we need to fit these grade levels. And then we're going to use those teachers. They'll apply. Hopefully by the end of April, 1st of May, we'll have those teachers. And then whenever the school's out in June, we'll have specific professional development for them. And that time we'll work with our consultants to really plan out what that day is going to look like for you. Because until then, we need that collaborative time together to really think about that, look at it, and see what that's going to look like. But we know how important building relationships is in just in education in general. So we want to make sure that that you know that we will have class times that students can be on and help. So this right here is just a sample. This is one of our schools that we used as an example and that we've gone to their school to look at their virtual academy, and they have some different options. So just kind of focusing on different subject areas at different times of the day. So we'll definitely talk about those educational choices and what works best whenever we plan that. Not only will your teacher be your teacher, but especially when you get into secondary, when you have multiple classes, we'll definitely hook you up with one teacher that will be your mentor. And that will be the person who will really help guide you if you have questions, and kind of be your point of contact. So that's really a piece of even our other school of opportunity that has become really important. That way students feel like they have somebody to connect with and somebody who's really watching their progress. In our elementary, we have our RISE initiative. So I just want to make sure y'all know that even though this is virtual, we're still going to make sure and hit all of the initiatives, all the things that the state requires so that your students have that full rounded education. And that's also with phonemic awareness in the younger grades. And then of course, our state assessments that are there. So about April, that's when we'll have our ACT Aspire assessment for grades 3 through 5. And then we'll also look at different assessments during the year, formative assessments, to see how the students are growing, to make sure they're going to be ready. So looking at kind of secondary, because they're a little bit different, here you're talking about your, especially when you're talking about high school, you're talking about credits to graduate. And even in middle school, my son's in there this year, we have 7 different classes. And so kind of how do we work that out so we can make sure and not be overwhelmed, but then we don't have to do 7 different 50-minute class periods a day. So that again, we'll work with our teachers this summer to come up with a collaborative schedule, something that will be able to fit your, to be able to kind of give some time for students to really focus and also have time to do their work there. We would definitely want to have some electives where students can find some things that they're interested in and sign up for that. And something that I've had several families reach out to say, okay, even though it's virtual, we want to make sure we have some time that we can maybe even collaborate or network with the other students who are in the school as well, that are not just virtual. And so that's something we want to do, is like maybe some community involvement. Sometimes we're like, hey, we're gonna go volunteer here or do stuff, and that parents will be able to, if they can participate with us, if possible. So that way your students can also get to know each other, but then also find opportunities to help serve our community and maybe even bring it in. Again, in secondary, they'll have the mentor. That's going to be very important. We would love, some of the models that we looked at for our virtual academy had some on-site support where you can. So our physical location for the virtual academy is going to be out on Highway 10. It's the old Robinson Middle School. It's now the Center of Innovation. And so that's definitely something we're looking into as well.
Hey, Rachel.
Yeah.
I was just going to share a question that came in as you touched on it just now in the elementary, and I see it's on there for secondary. Okay. When it comes to the testing, will they report on site or will this be administered virtually?
Oh, good question there. So definitely the NWEA MAP assessment it's informal. So that one we are going to should be able to do virtually. And that's what they've done this year for the virtual students. The ACT Aspire will need to be done on site, but that again, that's in April. It's usually over about 3 days. And so we'll make sure and give plenty of heads up before then, so you can make sure and look at your schedule. So they usually do about 2 tests a day, I think, for that. So it runs over about 3 days. That's a good question. So only the ACT Aspire is the one that we look for you coming to campus for. And then of course, high school. This is a question that a couple of you asked, because we do have some that are in the high school. What would graduation look like? AP classes, that kind of information. So our classes, we will be able to offer advanced placement classes if that's something that you're desiring, or those concurrent credits. We talked with UALR just the other day about their classes that they offer, and we're going to get those lists, because if you can take those high school or take those college courses in high school for about, I think they were about like $100 a course or something. I'll have to, that's a great bargain. And so students can leave high school with a lot of their credits done. And then for graduation, at least for the first couple of years, because of our numbers, we're just going to have the students graduate with their locally zoned school. So if you're part of Little Rock School District, whatever school you're closest zone to, that's the one you will participate in graduation with. as well as athletics. If anybody is interested in still playing athletics, they'll still play either at their zone school, or if you're outside the district, the nearest zone school.
Rachel, another question that has come in, if a student is able to finish the semester early, is this set up in a way that they can progress on to the next semester, or do they have to stay on a certain schedule?
Yeah, we definitely look at that. I'm not sure if that's I'm sure that's probably for secondary. But yes, so right now our students are able to do that in our School of Opportunity. So that's what we are hoping for the next as well. Because that way the students, they're not just sitting there bored, but and if they want to advance and get some more credits done in 1 year than just what they can, that's a great goal for them. We have one student in our School of Opportunity that was able to finish I think English 1 and English 2 in 1 year. And so if we could do that and get credits in, that would be great. So yes. See another question. Oh yeah, about
special events. Yeah.
Special events. Yes, so it depends. So as far as some of the different clubs, I know that we talked to some of the teachers were asking that about. I'm trying to think. I know the teacher is it DECA? I think that we're asking hey, could those students still participate in that? So that would be something we would definitely connect you with that locally zoned school. To get you connected to some of those programs, because that's definitely our goal, is to have that where you have those opportunities still as well. Yes, and you can definitely work towards early graduation if that's something you're interested in. This is a great program for that. As I was looking at all those concurrent credits, that was a pretty awesome opportunity too. So graduate early and have some college credits done. Someone asked, can you attend from anywhere in the state if we... Yes, you can. So the question is about if you can attend from anywhere in the state, even if you relocate. So right now, PCSSD, if you're zoned for ours, you can get in at any point of the year. If you relocate, there is a school choice application. If you relocate during the year, we can work that out. But after the school year, if you're zoned for a different district, you just fill out something what's called school choice. And that is due between January 1st and May 1st. And then that is where you get the opportunity to switch districts. And so, yes, they can do that. Yes, it is a public school at no cost. That is correct. So yeah, all the scholarship opportunities and everything like that, absolutely. Those are the things that's definitely important. And we have, like I said, Chandra is able to be on here now, but that's something too that she will work with. Our counselor will work with your students to make sure they have opportunities with all the scholarships as well. So great questions, guys. This is exactly what I needed. I need these questions so I can make sure and answer those. And even if I can't, to be able to find. I don't know why it got so dark in here all of a sudden. So with that. So my next question here was, who's going to teach my student, or what is that going to look like? And so these are not the teachers. It's just a great picture of some of our teachers at Pulaski County. But we have, our teachers are also going to be mentors. They're all highly qualified teachers with certifications in the areas that they will be teaching. And so that's definitely important. Our counsel will be available. We also have mental health providers with our district that help with social emotional, and then professional development. I just made sure I put that on there, even though that's not really something that's going to be for the students, but making sure our teachers have the correct training they need. Like I was talking about earlier, consultant to come in, help us, because even though we've experienced virtual learning over the last year, this is definitely something that is not something we went to school for in education. So making sure those teachers feel comfortable and supported, and making sure we just have a great time to collaborate and have make sure we're meeting all of our goals together. All right, so what kind of support will my child receive? So I put this on here because this is a great diagram that we use for our charter school application, or for our district conversion charter application. So all the things that we offer in the district, we can also offer your student. Some of it may look a little bit different, like if gifted and talented is something, then we can work it out where you can go to the school, your zone school at the time, and with the gifted and talented teacher, and still have that experience there We've had students who've applied that have dyslexia or 504 needs or IEPs, and that's something we're going to look over, make sure we'll be able to meet all of those even under this virtual learning.
Hey, Rachel, I hate to interrupt, but I do have a quick question as we're kind of talking about the support that's there. We had a question about Chromebooks followed by a question about the possibility of doing the school at a year-round prospect, or will it follow the regular school calendar?
Yeah, well, I'll just go ahead and advance to this next calendar since you'll have to see the bubble. So yes, Chromebooks will definitely be supplied because they're still PC SSD students and every student gets a device. We actually have this is our year for refresh. And so we got brand new Chromebooks this year. So every kid will get a brand new Chromebook this year as well. So as far as connectivity, pretty much everyone in the survey said they have reliable internet. The hotspots that are available based on qualifications are those that the state has provided this year. And there is a form that you have to apply for that if that's something that's needed. But definitely we'll have that support with devices. As far as year-round school, right now, we don't have that in our vision because when we did this, we wanted to stay within our district calendar. It's not something we're opposing it for, but just until we get our structure set, that's definitely something we want to keep it within our district calendar. So right now, if students want to work on courses, they can advance during the school year. But then, of course, our teachers will kind of pause over the summer and have work hard, play hard kind of thing. Perfect. Oh, I see Jessica answered that. So last question I think I have on this is about parent support. So one of the campuses, or one of the programs that we looked at, they talked about the parent orientation, how important that was as well. Because if you're there needing to support your student, what's that going to look like for you? So definitely going over when we come back in August, some parent nights, probably multiples, because we know everybody's schedule is a little bit different, but really looking at the learning management platform, making sure we know how that parents can set up their accounts and help all of you all set up those accounts so that you're able to view your students' progress. One of the school districts that we looked at had like an orientation course where the kids could kind of click through it, just get used to the way the platform's laid out. Of course, just like our regular school, we'll have parent-teacher conferences, and more than likely we'll talk a lot more in this virtual academy than you probably would during the school year, because those mentors are really going to be reaching out and you'll be talking to those teachers on a weekly schedule. And then our counselor will work with them for our educational plans, making sure we have the courses needed for you. And Florida Virtual, because if we're using their curriculum, they're there for support and providing a lot of resources for us as well.
Hey, Rachel, there's a question about fine arts and how to access things like orchestra and band and that availability.
Yeah, so for band, when you get into the high school grades or in middle school as well, those are something that you would do again at your local school, because that you'd be kind of a big group. And so that's definitely still something we would work out with you and with that school to get it in the schedule. I love that. Arkansas Youth Symphony, that's amazing. So yeah, definitely if that's something they want to get involved in, we can still make sure that works. That's the beautiful thing about this conversion charter, is that we have resources all over this district. And so we can definitely support you in however that might look. And so we definitely don't want, we want to make sure if you need just 100% virtual, we have that option, but we also want to connect you where we know that your students are going to shine. So that's a great question there. I think that's the end of our slideshow. Ooh, it got really dark. I guess that slide got. So do y'all have any other questions? We have about 6 minutes left. And if you do, and tonight is not the only night you have to ask questions. Let me zip back through up here, go back up here to this first one. So there is my email address. You may have gotten an email, even dva@pcssd.org. I should have put that on there, but that's also an email that several of us check and keep up with. So feel free to reach out. You've probably gotten emails from me already, so my work number is there on the bottom as well. Thanks, Jessica, for putting that in there. So any other questions y'all have? I have some great ones tonight. And I love that this is still a work. This is something that we're developing. I mean, I'm okay that if it starts off a little small, and because we want it to be great. We want this program to be something that we can take and we can build each year. And so I loved one of the parents I talked to yesterday. It's like, I'm looking at this in long term. Like, what's it going to look like in high school and stuff? And so I love that the families are already thinking, okay, what's this going to look like in long term? So we're here to support you all the way through it. Well, unless you have a question, you are more than welcome to jump off. That's all I have to present tonight, because I know you might have dinner to get to or kids to get clean. I'm surprised I might haven't interrupted us here during our meeting, or the dog hasn't barked. So, but thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're excited to offer this. And again, at any point y'all have questions, feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to answer those. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes. Y'all have a great night. Karen, I just saw your question come in, so I want to make sure and answer that as well. I can't remember if you're the person I've talked to about this, because I know there's been somebody who talked about Metro, and I did reach out to Pam Black. She oversees that for our district. So definitely when we get ready to schedule, we'll definitely look at that and figure out how to make that work in your schedule, see what courses that Metro would accommodate, and then that way we can know how to form your other courses around that as well. But the lessons, if there's like some lessons in the morning that are offered, they're all going to be recorded and posted. So if they're not live, at least you'll have your student might have the recording for them. But good question there. I think that's one thing I love about this. Like every student is going to look just a little bit different, and that's okay, because we want to do what's best for our students. So. All right, guys, I'm going to end the video. Y'all have a great night.